Welcome back everybody to another episode of our weekly Moto News Roundup, where this time around we'll be looking at new bikes from MV, KTM and BMW. There's spy shots of a new KTM middleweight as well, a bargainous big adventurer from Moto Morini, and rumours of a new Enfield Scrambler for 2027. Then we've got awards for Suzuki, we've got new bikes from ZXMOTO, ITALJET are back, and CF Moto's new mini bike looks incredible. Then we've got a rare gem of a classic, a record-breaking auction, and also a look at Ducati's new approach to maintenance schedules, which looks like a little bit of genius. But before we get underway, a massive thanks to Break Free for supporting our news content, and if you do like the look of this product, then check out the links in the description below where you can find out more. So let's kick off with some new bikes, and first up we've got the CARBONIO NERO version of MV Agusta's Brutale 800, which was introduced just this week. It comes off the back of MV Agusta changing their pricing strategy a little bit lately to pull it down and pull it in line more so with the mainstream bikes. Take for example the Brutale 800, coming in now in the UK at £11,500, and that's down from over 15 grand last time out, so it really is a significant repositioning. To do that, naturally the standard bike is relatively simple in its finish, with it being largely blacked out with a matte red paint job that still, looks good, but it's not the most fancy MV you'll ever see. Maybe this one though offers a little bit of a middle ground, with this carbon black version available now, and you'd say on the whole it is still pretty stealthy, but the red wheels, the trellis frame as well, do add a bit of sportiness, and dare I say a little bit of Ducati monster about it, which I mean in the best way. So yeah, a little more eye-catching perhaps than the standard bike. No exact UK pricing on this one as of yet, but for Italy it's €500 on top of the standard bike, so I'd probably expect for this one about 12 grand. Over at KTM though, well, they're operating at the other end of the pricing spectrum with the reintroduction of their 450 Rally replica, which is about as close as you can get to owning your very own Dakar bike. Just 100 will be made with their punchy 450 single. It's got rally-specific gearing and a Kropovic exhaust, fully customizable WP Pro suspension, CNC triples, a triple fuel tank as well with almost 35 litres of capacity, a carbon navigation tower, race-ready bodywork, and that's amongst many other changes. The price on this one though, just over £33,000 for the standard bike, of which there'll be 100, but also they're making a Luciano Benavides factory edition, and that one will be over £42,000. Meanwhile, in South Africa, BMW have just announced a couple of very tasty looking special editions of both the S1000RR sports bike and its super spec M1000RR sibling. These are called the M2 editions, referencing of course the BMW car of the same name, and both of them get a black paint job, red accents, a tinted windscreen, an embossed M logo in the seat, and also some graphics on the wheels. I believe there's an Kropovic exhaust accessory available too. Now the S model is 400,000 rand, so that's about 18 grand. The M, almost 900,000 rand, which is closer to 38. So similar in price to the standard non-M2 models, but maybe just a little bit on top. On the flip side though, they've also done an RR model of the car. So it's the M2 Coupe RR edition, again with black paint, red springs, 20mm lower as well, performance wheels, splitters and spoilers with red accents, and a specially customized Kropovic system for this particular car. Not massively a car guy, but that one and the bikes together, that would make for a pretty nice garage setup. But anyway, back to KTM, and we've got more spy shots this week, but this time appearing to show a new middleweight Duke Naked. Now, my source for these shots is calling it either a 490 or a 590, and their understanding is that it won't replace the 390 Duke single, but more so bridge the gap between that bike and the 790 Duke by coming in between sort of 55 and 75 horsepower. And it's a good point as well, it's a massive step between the 390, which makes around 40 horses, and the 790, which makes 95 horsepower. And so I do agree that something around 60 or 70 would sit nicely in the middle and also fill the gap that's left by the 690 Duke single, although this one is expected, as you can see in the shots, to be a parallel twin. I think the running gear is pretty much as you'd expect with this one as well. Their in-house WP suspension and brakes. You can probably take a good guess at how it might look as well in the end, despite the fairly rough-looking test mule. But I'd love to know what you think on this one. Is 70 horsepower a bit of a sweet spot, or is this another unnecessary step in the KTM ladder, which already has plenty of nakeds? Let me know what you think down in the comments. A couple of years back at EICMA in Milan, we saw the new Moto Morini X-Cape 1200, and I've got to say it looked really impressive on the stand, but since then we've not heard too much. It turns out though, it has just been announced as being available here in the UK for 2026, and so while the initial buzz might have died off a bit, well, all the same, it is an interesting looking bike, owing, I guess, to the Italian design, but also being Chinese made, it looks like pretty good value for money as well. Now at the heart of it, we've got an 1187cc 87 degree V-twin, which is good for 129 horsepower at 8,750 RPM and 106 Newton meters of peak torque at 7,000. So plenty of pulling power for some loaded up adventure touring, and there's also a good level of spec on the chassis as well. You've got KYB suspension with 180mm of travel at both ends, Brembo braking, a 19-inch front and a 17 at the rear, both of them tubeless and spoked, and shod with Pirelli's excellent Scorpion Trail tyres. Tech is fully fledged too. You've got a TFT dash, cornering rider aids, TPMS, a dashcam, connectivity, a rear-facing blind spot radar, and then cruise control, heated grips, heated seats, both front and rear. And so you've got to say at £11,299 plus on the road fees, well, it doesn't look bad at all, especially considering you can get 3-piece aluminium luggage for another $499 on top. So that would be a fully loaded adventure bike for under 12 grand. There is, I think, a catch though with these, very affordable Chinese adventure bikes, especially the large capacity ones. And I think that's the weight. This one comes in at a pretty hefty 259 kilograms dry. And so you'd imagine with all the fluid on board, plus the generous 24.5 litre tank fully fueled up, well, you must be looking at closer to 280 kilograms, which isn't insignificant, and also 840mm in the seat. It's not tall, but I think that's a lot of weight for a lot of people at that height. All the same, I think at that price, a lot of people might be willing to overlook that, especially if they're used to heavier bikes or they're a tall rider. And so if you do want a little bit of Italian swishness, but maybe at a more accessible price point than your average full capacity adventure bike, then it could well be worth a spin, this one. Meanwhile, we've got rumours that Royal Enfield is set to launch a new 450 Scrambler in 2027, with visor down reporting on this one, and also plenty of similar reports from Indian outlets. Now, the idea is to find a bit of a halfway house, I think, between the existing 450s, which are the Gorilla Naked, so a little bit flat tracker inspired, but fairly low slung, and then the 450 Himalayan adventure bike. With the liquid-cooled single, the 450, I think it'd also make a great direct competitor for Triumph's Scrambler 400s. It'll make similar performance figures, probably a similar-ish price too. And I've got to say, it could run it close on looks as well if Bike Deco's mocked-up speculative renders at all accurate. I really like what they've done here. Hopefully Enfield are working along similar lines, and I certainly think a very cool looking mid-capacity Scrambler like that could help it to shift a few units. Now, they say it's slated for 2027, so could be one to keep your eyes peeled for in the autumn at EICMA. Anyway, time for comment of the week, where each week I'll pick my favourite comment from the last episode, and then at the end of the month, I will pick out my winner of the month, who'll get a break-free unit of their choice. Last week, well, the running theme for a lot of the comments was the Brabus electric bike, which I don't think really hit the mark with the average motorcyclist. There wasn't a lot of love for that one, but there was quite a bit of appreciation for the new Gorilla Apex 450 from Royal Enfield, with flatter street bias bars and also some proper road tyres. On this one, DAC767 said Royal Enfield did the right thing at last. First thing I did with my Gorilla was fit lower bars, and Metzler M3s will go on soon. So it sounds like a bit of a winning formula from some first-hand experience there, so thanks to DAC767 for sharing that. But yeah, it is the end of the month, or rather it's the 1st of May, so it's the start of the next month, and so I better pick out a winner. I think I'll go for Craig Stephen McDonald from last week, who left this comment about BMW's patent for a new version of their C1 scooter, but this time with 6 extra wheels that come down to help you balance when you're at a standstill. So well done to Craig. Drop us an email at enquiries@motobob.cc and we'll sort you out with your prize. Now over to Suzuki with news that their GSX 8T and TT Retros just won a Red Dot Design Award in Germany, and it kind of got me thinking this one actually. I mean, it's a good looking bike. There is something to be said for the design, but I wouldn't say it's exactly groundbreaking, and also it's not a bike that's sold particularly well, and they also had to drop the price recently, which I think goes to show that sales are a little bit slow. Plus, I have seen quite a few press releases recently about these Red Dot Awards. Ducati with the Diavo V4, the Panigale V4 as well in 2025, Honda on the NC 750X, I think an even more unremarkable bike perhaps than the Suzuki Retros. And so what is the deal here? Are they just paying for something to talk about, or is there any merit in winning a Red Dot Design Award? Well, I did a bit of digging on the Red Dot Design Award website, and it turns out it's a little of column A, a little of column B. It is meant to be genuinely an award that you win by a judging panel, but it also isn't free. To even register and submit your product, you've got to pay between 470 and 890 euros. But here's the big one. If you win, you have to pay them to license their logo and name to use in your press releases. And depending on which package you choose, that's between 4,900 euros and 12,800 euros. So look, congrats to Suzuki all the same, and to Ducati and Honda before that. But maybe those fees do soften the achievement just a little bit. Anyway, back to the bikes, and MCM report this week that Chinese newcomers ZXMOTO are about to land in the UK after signing with a distributor. And they sound like serious business as well, these bikes. It's easy to write off another new Chinese brand as just low priced and a little low performance perhaps. But ZXMOTO have won multiple rounds of the World Supersport Champs in 2026 with their 3-cylinder 820RR. The bikes they're planning on launching look pretty tasty as well, like the 500RR Inline 4, which is said to make 83 horsepower at 13,500 RPM, and yet weighs in at just 168 kilograms curb. So if you like a little slender screamer, then definitely keep your eyes peeled for that one. And there's also a retro built upon the same platform called the 500F. I think it's possibly borrowed a little bit too much from Honda in the looks there. It looks a bit derivative, let's say. But also that 820 model is said to be available at some point too, and so we could have some very interesting new options here, especially with a price that is still expected to be fairly accessible for those 500s around the 5 or 6 grand mark. Also back in the UK though recently, we've got ITALJET, or ITALJET. Either way, fair to say they make some of the coolest looking scooters ever made. Visor Down report that they've been absent from the UK for 3 years now, but are set to return with their 125, 300, 459 and 700 dragsters. The latter as well, the 700 dragster, looks like a proper beast with a 69 horsepower parallel twin, along with the high-spec chassis running on Brembo brakes, for example, and Marzocchi suspension, not the sort of stuff you normally see on a scoot. On top of that, there's also the Roadster 400, which is similarly distinctive in the looks, but it's got a little bit more of a retro vibe about it, which I think leaves it looking a touch steampunk maybe. The big change though is that all of these bikes will be sold direct through ITALJET, or however you say it, ITALJET UK, with bikes either delivered to you or collected from their HQ in Nottingham, so no dealer specifically. And if you want to get your bike serviced under warranty, well, apparently you can do that at any VAT-registered workshop. So, interesting approach, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more brands starting to move down this route in future. One bike that unfortunately isn't available in the UK though, and I really wish it was, is the CFMoto XO PAPIO, a super cool little 125 mini bike with a bit of a retro sports bike look with the round headlights and the full fairings. Now, maybe I'm a little bit late to this one, one, but WeBike Japan just posted some images of their new colours for 2026, and I've got to say they look fantastic, especially this one in the full CFMoto racing trim. Now they've also made a few changes for 2026, like the riding position. It's a little more sat up and comfy, but all the info I've seen so far is just for the Australian market, so tough luck for everybody else. A couple of quick classics to look at now though. This one is from Japanese magazine Young Machine, who reported that this Yamaha XT500 was found in a Paris motorcycle shop, still crated up, never used, after 40 years. So yeah, it's in immaculate condition of course, which must be a real rarity for these now, and it's due to go on auction soon in Germany. Now, XTs are still very, very popular, and so especially in this condition, they estimate conservatively it'll fetch around 15 to 25,000 euro. But to me that sounds a little bit on the low side for a cult bike like this that's never been used. I guess we'll find out soon though. There was a lot of buzz this week though for another auction of a 500cc Grand Prix bike from 1965 that was said to have been raced by either Halewood, Agostini, or both. They're not quite sure, but it's in the season in 65 where they finished 1 and 2 in the championship. It's an MV, of course, you probably knew that already from the paint. But yeah, the headline figure is that the original estimate at the Bonham Spring Staffers sale, a big classic sale here in the UK, was 160,000 to 220, but it absolutely smashed it, with the winning bid coming in at £967,000.
We are selling all the way. Congratulations!
Rounding off today though, well, I saw an interesting bit of new tech, or a new approach rather, from Ducati, and it's called predictive maintenance, a feature that they'll be offering up for their Desmo 450 MX motocross bike. And the idea is you hook the bike up to their free software, the X-Link app, and it'll give you your maintenance due dates in real time. Thing is though, those due dates are actually generated and adjusted by an algorithm, and it's based upon the intensity of the bike's usage. So of course a lot of hard racing would bring those service dates forward, but if you just bought the bike for gentler leisure use, then I guess it would push those intervals back a little bit. Now naturally dirt bikes have much shorter intervals than road bikes, but it did have me thinking all the same, well, there's a lot different about steady motorway miles as opposed to charging around back roads or the track. So could this sort of idea ever make it to street bikes, or do you see it as just another unnecessary complication of motorcycling? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, along with all of the other stories this week. As always, hit subscribe for more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews right here on Motobob. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.